your conversation with the big guy, Ryback, starts now.
Welcome to Conversation with the Big Guy, Ryback. I am the Big Guy, Ryback, and today I'm joined by Brian Pillman Jr., and this is a fun episode. I think you guys are really going to dig it. This is fresh off of his appearance at AEW and with his dark match with Shawn Spears, and so this came at a very good time. And we talk about his time at AEW, going over there, the coronavirus stuff going on, and being at home, adjusting to not doing anything, and then all of a sudden, and being in phenomenal shape and going over there, and very, very happy for Brian and the opportunities I feel that are going to be coming his way. We talk about social media, always talking about social media and everything going on, and we just pretty much just shoot the shit on this episode. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Brian Pillman Jr.
Hey, guy.
I can hear you. What's going on?
Oh, there you go. All right. Just trying to get some of my, I was doing these with Eli Drake, and I didn't have enough of my cool, backdrop stuff in there.
Oh, don't worry.
That's what I've been spending my time. I just had a very plain background.
No, it's fun. If people can't just listen to the content and be happy, if they need to see a banner in the background,
yeah, I know, right?
Anyway. So I know. I switched to these. I usually did the hard cam shot where I had the whole studio. Nobody gives a shit. And
Yeah.
I'm now I just do StreamYard, and I don't care. I just angle my laptop to be on me. So
Yeah.
people like the face to face. Where'd you fly in from?
So I just came home from Jacksonville, Florida.
I saw you. You were in disguise. I saw for the show.
Yeah.
But I saw backstage.
Rolling, by the way? Are we rolling?
Yeah, I keep it on.
Yeah. No, some guys
I just happen to pick it up at the most natural part.
No, I appreciate that. No, I got some cookies here. Been trying to bulk up, so I appreciate
you. Literally just flew in and then and did the show, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it was a wild time, very adrenaline filled, a lot of opportunity put my way. But I came, I came to work, and I showed up in very good physique, very good form, very, very repped out, very much ready, ring ready, despite the pandemic,
You look in good shape. I saw a picture of you backstage with Jericho. Was that with you in your ring gear? You look like you're ready to go.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I wanted to make sure, just coming off of such a long break, that I was able to fire on all the cylinders that I could and enhance all the aspects that my trainer told me, were the most important things in a wrestler. And one of those things is having a good look and looking good. So
absolutely,
when it came to having brand new gear and having brand new muscles and brand new tan, that was a no-brainer for me. Now, going out there and getting it done in the ring, that's a whole nother situation. I think I did really good. So, but there's different levels to that too.
What did you do with them? Because I only watched the part of the AEW television show. Did you have a match also?
Yeah, I can only speak on one of the matches.
Okay.
That I'm having. The other one is super kayfabed up. But I do have a match coming up on Tuesday. AEW Dark.
Yeah.
It'll be me versus Shawn Spears.
All right.
Very solid match. Very talented guy. Very solid worker. If we're shooting on this thing, or if we're never know these days if I'm fabing it or if this is a shoot podcast.
I came in with Shawn. Actually, he was in. He was. I knew him from OVW when he was with tagging with Cody down there, and I came in from Deep South Wrestling, and then he got released. And then I remember he went through some struggles. I remember him, man, coming backstage to a show at WWE. I think it was me, and I don't know if I was in the main event that was Ryback, and he was it was in Canada. And I remember he was out of wrestling for a bit. And it's just crazy how everyone, once you get into the wrestling business, goes through their own journey and cycles of like,
oh yeah, everyone
he's
has
out
their
of it now. Like
story.
I'm out of the business for right now, and then he's now back and doing well. It's just that,
Oh yeah,
everyone has their own story, but he's always been a very talented wrestler.
yeah, and it's all about how you adapt and those things too. But
yeah,
but no, I mean, just being able to go there and be told that I'm working with these high caliber guys, these guys that not only do they look the part, but they can work. You know, they can cover up for me. Not that I don't think I need too much covering up anymore. I think I've been maturing quite well and really polishing myself in the ring.
How many years now are you in, by the way?
At the same time, you can't fake experience. You know, you can't simulate the feeling of being in control in the ring like someone like Sean Spears has. You know, I can't fake that shit. You know, like I can go out there with all the confidence in the world, but when a guy like that really has control of the pacing and of the match, it definitely takes a big load off your shoulders. You know, when you can go out there and focus on connecting with the crowd and selling and being and having your best match. You know, can't always have your best match when you're worried about, you know, the other stuff and all that.
You're in a position
what was your question again? I feel like
but you're in a position too, and you're learning. We're all learning, but like that, you bring up a good point, because I went through this actually too in WWE. Of it depends who you're working with also, and there's like a respect thing where you're the younger guy, you're there with a guy that's been in the business longer. You could have all the confidence in the world, but there's like, this is one of those fine lines in wrestling that fans will never understand, because there's a whole political aspect to this where you have to, it's being respectful. It's knowing when to get your offense in. It's knowing when to listen. It's knowing when to take control. And I went through that when I got thrown into the WWE main event. I had a lot of confidence, but now I am now working with the elite of the company that have a lot of power and control.
Yeah.
And if I start doing things that they don't like, it could have negative repercussions. And that's part of wrestling. Yeah. And then now in getting that experience, and then eventually you're that guy in that position. And it's just the way that's part of the wrestling business.
Yeah.
But it's a cool thing, man, to watch you. Like you got confidence. There's no doubt it's in your blood. So you're just but in 10 years, you're going to look back and be like, man, I wish it's just the way it is.
Yeah. You look back and you go, oh, wow, I can't believe I did this or did that, or I said that and it was taken the wrong way by them. But you know, that's one of the things I probably struggle with the most, is just because I am a talker. I'm a very vocal guy. I'm very transparent about my goals with everybody. So sometimes I get to talking too much, and that can be my downfall, especially, you know, coming into a new company. But I definitely learned a lot about being in a high level locker room like that. You know, it was 2 days, you know, of work, you know, and when you show up for work, you show up for work, and then you got the one day, and then you got the next day you're tired and you got to do more, or you got a new opportunity to work on. So yeah, some very good opportunities that were thrown my way to be on the dark end of the show, which in my opinion is just as much, you know, when you're looking at the show as a whole, it's more than half the matches on the card is going on the dark show. So that definitely makes up the bulk of the production, and it is very valuable. So I was very honored. I definitely didn't expect to be thrown straight onto live TV right away. You know, I was very honored to have been put on the dark match.
And Dark is a show. They have Moxley. They have. It's not like WWE. Dark. They use the whole roster on that show. So to be on that show is not like, it's not like you just show up and it's no easy task. It's a cool thing that to be figured into even that right now. So I think that says a lot. What was the feedback for you? Everything positive?
Yeah, I want to say very positive. Obviously, like I said, like I can get it kind of ahead of myself when I'm talking and I'm expressing myself to people. But other than that, I think what I had gotten done in the ring on those 2 nights was definitely the right impression. I think Tony is a guy that really, really cares about his talent. You know, he's something that's he really, really cares. Like he's always checking up on everybody, you know, from the top of the card down to the bottom. You know, he's hanging out with the boys after the show to pick people's brains, but also he's a wealth of knowledge too. He's a student of the game. He has a lot of a lot of statistics in his head, a lot of different matches that he's seen about every match there is, So when you care that much about the sport and the art of it, and you also care about the talent, it's hard to not want to make a place like that home, like the sky's the limit when you have all that hunger and you have that drive, it's like, I see them being around for a very long time.
I do too.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I talked to Trent the other day, and I go, I'm excited because for me in my situation, I've talked about it a million times, but and we see it with guys after you leave WWE. Sometimes it can be very disheartening. And even though I walked away, and my story's a little different with the injuries, I never wanted to go back, which is really disheartening for me because my goals for wrestling were not over. But now I look, and all of a sudden now we have a viable, huge wrestling promotion that seems open-minded.
Absolutely.
I know multiple people there, and everyone says the same thing about the positivity in the backstage, which for me, coming up in WWE, I'm taken back by it because I go, fuck, that's like what wrestling should be.
Yeah,
but it wasn't what I was taught, and it wasn't necessarily, and I don't agree with the way a lot of things are with inside WWE, but it's just the way that it is, and it always was. And not to say that it can't change and adjust, but
it's more developed into its into its corporate kind of structure.
It's what it is,
And AEW definitely has more of that independent contractor vibe. It definitely has like when it comes to the veterans and talking to them and really getting to pick their brain. It's just an open, it's like an open forum. People are always willing to chat and to talk and you're there all day and you're working with these guys, and the last thing people want to do is be all uptight and worried about who they can talk to and who they can't. So I was very pleased to have those veterans to be there to help with the show and to talk. And the agents, they're very, they're not too controlling of what's going on. It's a very open forum there. And I think sometimes maybe people get a little too comfortable, and I was probably guilty of it too over my couple days there. Just because so many of those guys I came up with on the indies, you got so much young, hungry talent. And I'm like, I'm a young, hungry talent too. And I'm in this place too. And I'm like, oh, look at me, So I might have been just soaking up a little too much attention there. But as far as my performance and what the company and Tony and Cody and everybody thought of what I was doing, I think it was very positive. And I do think I'll be back there. So.
I wouldn't be surprised. The cool thing too about AEW is, and I feel like we all know wrestling needs to be better and can be better. I see that with AEW, but they're not going to. It's not the same. This isn't like a WCW or like you're not just going to bring in veteran talents or people. It's going to be it's truly like they went with the roster they had. They brought in the right veteran people at the time that they needed. And I think it's going to be a very fine blend, but using the right people to help build up the roster on TV, which they're doing right now. It's like the perfect combination of using young and experienced wrestlers together. And it takes time with that. But I feel like everyone that's in that system realizes the goal of improving in long term. And
it's not so much like,
like, let's hold these guys down.
You're in a training group or you're in developmental. You're not on the raw. It's a very much collaborative effort where someone who's at one point in their career one night might be getting a huge opportunity the next night. It might be like, oh, well, you just showed us something we hadn't seen before. We're not going to hold you down for another 3 months. We're actually just going to give you a shot tomorrow and see how you do. So, and they have that freedom to do that. So that I think that's the saving grace for like a young guy. I don't really know too much about the WWE because I just kind of wanted to go out on the indies and earn it on my own. I didn't want to kind of take that way out and like ask for a job, if that makes sense. Like I feel like at some point in my career, I was like, you know what, I might have an open window there to just get a tryout or something. But I was always afraid of that because, they always say despise the free lunch, and if something comes too easily, it might not be as good for your character, as good for long-term growth as a person. So I definitely just always shied away from going there, and just from what I heard and stuff. But I think it's just it's such a big environment. It's such a big pond that if you go in there developmental, it might be easy to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to get lost in the shuffle because when I have social media and when I'm able to connect with all my fans anyways and share my story on the indies, it's like I don't want anybody to stop me from doing that, and I don't want anybody to change who I am and they try to scare you and say, oh, they're going to change your name and they're going to ruin you. It's like, I'm not worried about all that. And I know everyone there means well, and they have a very highly professional, a lot of the talent there I'm very, very look up to and very fond of. Guys like Riddle and Thatcher and those guys that I got to spend some time with on the indies. But no, it's just one of those things where like it's kind of just, I'm doing this for me. Like I didn't get into wrestling for anybody else, but for me and to kind of make my father proud and show him a story and show him a journey that's very unique in the sense that all this stuff's happening in wrestling. AEW's coming up, and like there's almost this kind of revolutionary thing. And before the pandemic, there was a lot more steam behind it all, of course. But in the same vein, it's like these guys are changing the game, and I waited till I was 22, 23 to start really studying the business and really looking into it. So if I was a fan of anybody, I was a fan of the modern day wrestling, because that's when I really started watching. I started seeing the Young Bucks and Cody and these guys kind of taking over the world on the indies. And I thought, well, if they're doing it without that main media conglomerate, without the WWE, if they're doing it on their own terms, who's to say I can't, learn from them and build a brand on my own terms at least. And then obviously the ultimate goal was to get my foot in the door at AEW. And that's always been my ultimate goal, just because, like I said, that gravitation towards their product, the gravitation towards what they're doing there. I've never really second guessed it. Yeah, I've always wanted to be a part of that company.
I think it's a great thing, and just personally speaking, I'll never tell anyone where to go. I think everyone has to make their own personal choice with that. I've just seen people that do. Time and time again, like to understand WWE, you have to go there to understand it.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you can hear it all day long. You'll never fully understand it until you're actually in it and see. But I think with the way everything's going in like AEW, and I think in wanting to build stars, and the WWE has certain limitations on things. They have their business model. I think it's a much more favorable position with today. Like if I'm now getting into the game today, I'm looking and I know the information. I know AEW all the way. Anything just because I think I know what the limitations are on the other one. Mm-hmm. With that, what was it like for you now with everything with this whole coronavirus has been? Like, I can't even imagine, because I just remember coming up wrestling in front of no people, and there's nothing harder than doing like cold and developmental anyways. And I've done some indies even after I left in Australia. That was pretty bad. And without that adrenaline there, it's a lot more difficult. Was it for you doing this stuff for like AEW here? Was that a challenge not having an audience there as far as the regular audience?
Yeah, so I always commended AEW because they were one of the first shows to start putting the boys in the crowd and to start creating that ambient noise that we as wrestlers, we kind of need that to just to operate. I don't even without crowd reactions. I was really lost out there, but I don't want to say lost like in the sense like I didn't know where I was going, but lost in the sense of my emotional, kind of reading the roller coaster of it. Like, where am I going? Is this with the timing and things, like you're still going to get to where you want to go, but it's like, you never really know when or if or should you cut something or not. You just kind of
you have nothing to play off of.
Yeah, we'll just do what we said we were. Let's go out here and we'll kill it, and we'll hopefully work the camera and keep those people that are at home watching entertained. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing is focusing on your audience, right? If your audience is online, then there's no point in selling to the 10,000 people in the Raptors, because they're not there. So
it looks silly in a way. It's tough.
That was one of Tony's creative visions too, was that we're always taught to treat every arena like it's full of 10,000 people, but he was very much adamant that we should focus on the actual viewers and the cameras and not be pretending that there's 100,000 people there. But with that said, there was actually quite a few of the boys in the audience for my match.
Okay.
So the first match I had was earlier in the night. So yeah, they actually had like volunteers and employees that worked at the arena and at the hotel who were part of the COVID testing sort of quarantine zone. Basically, once you're in the arena, nobody comes or goes. It's like a quarantine zone. So
Are you
anybody
tested right when you go in also?
Huh? Yeah.
Are you tested like as you go in for the day?
Yeah. You're tested. Okay. Yeah, you're tested all the time. Yeah. Always being scanned, always, very much, like I said, this guy, Tony, very much cares about his employees on a level, like a very deep family level. He wants the healthiest for everybody. And if there's even a whisper that you're kind of somewhat exposed to it, he'd be happier that you take the week off or whatever. Or
he seems very hands-on with everything.
Very much so.
Yeah. Because it's his baby. I mean, he's chosen to be involved in this.
But like what I was saying was like all these, when you add up all these different workers and you place them in the different parts of the crowd, it definitely felt like a legitimate show with fans. Yeah. So, because some of these people were fans, some of these people that worked at the venue were fans, so they really enjoyed it. And especially being that it was the Fighter Fest pay-per-view model, they wanted it to be as big and loud and rowdy as they could get it. So I was able to take part in that and sit in the crowd for Dynamite. And then when the dark matches happened, I went and did my dark match. So
that's great. Is Chris too with Jericho? Has he been involved with you over the years?
Absolutely. Chris has always been sort of that veteran voice of reason to kind of steer me in the right direction. Yeah, absolutely. Whenever I was expressing interest in going there, he was one of my biggest supporters. One of my biggest voices in there, and he really pulled for me. And so that's why, like, when I went there I knew I wasn't really debuting on TV, but on Dark. But I treated it like it was the biggest opportunity of my life. I mean, I went in there with the best shape I could possibly be in. Everything, new gear, fresh wrist tape, getting the pump right before my match, like not even missing a beat. Like I called the music guy a week before the show. I was like, we got to get this music right. I was like, and then they were like, well, then you should check with the guy that does the background projector screens and make sure you got something there too. And I was like, oh yeah, I got to get that too. So I tried to fire on every cylinder I could, knowing that Dark, gets hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube, and that's the thing that people have to understand as we move forward into the, technology marketplace. Is not everything has to be on cable TV, not everything. That's not the end all be all anymore, like
no.
I don't even have cable. So it's easier for me to watch those shows like Dark and stuff because it's easier to pull it up on my PlayStation.
No, times are changing for sure. And because I wanted to talk about a couple things with that as well. But I want to say Chris, man, was for me too, of all the guys when I was there, and then I had the whole main event run. After I did my feud with Cena and Chris, I think Chris and me were supposed to work at Mania, and it got changed to me and Mark Henry, and then went on to turn heel and went with Cena. And then me and the Jericho thing happened after, and I got to work with him on quite a few live events, main events, and man, I could just tell though, and there's nothing from working other main eventers in WWE to working Chris, he was just different. And it was because he was very, he was all right sharing advice. Like he was very content with himself.
Yeah.
He's very secure with himself. He knows how good he is.
Yeah.
He's already had success.
He's not worried about giving away his secrets and his thoughts on things. Yeah.
So I was always very grateful for him because he was very, very good to me during that whole period. And the whole time I knew him up there, he was great. So I'm glad you got a good relationship with him. What have you done too with COVID, with all this, to staying in shape of the gym situation? Because are you in Cincinnati?
Yeah, so I'm in northern Kentucky, which is more or less greater Cincinnati.
Yeah.
For about 2 months, I at the very beginning of this thing, I was completely out of shape. Not working
Really?
out, not eating well. Just let myself go pretty bad, playing video games. But once I got a call, I was laying down. It was late, and I got a message to go do an indie booking, like a closed taping, no fans,
Yeah.
and it was for that company GCW
Okay.
from Brett Lauderdale. And this was after 2 months of just being in spiral depression.
Yeah.
Like never thinking wrestling's coming back ever. And then there it was. It knocked on my door. I was like, oh my God, like he really wants me to come do this show right now? Like, where am I really going to go get paid to do my job and to do what I love? Like, this is crazy. But I had to tell him no. I was like, I can't do it because I'm not in shape, and I wouldn't disrespect the business by getting in a ring, being pasty and not in shape, and not even knowing if I had the ring cardio or anything. I had absolutely zero confidence in that. And I'm not going to go steal that guy's money just because, maybe I got a haircut before the show or something. But no, like I wasn't ready. I needed months. I needed time. I needed several weeks to be ready. And that's when I woke up that next morning with just a fire lit under my ass. Like wrestling's on its way back. Like, who's going to be the best in shape when it comes back? Like, who's going to hit the ring looking like $1 million? Well, it's going to be me for sure. Like, I'm not going to let anybody else take that from me. I just had wrestling my whole dream, traveling every weekend, going around the country, being flown all over and living my dream, taken out from underneath me in a day. You
lost everything, but from wrestling, no bookings. That's what I tried to like. It's
like
I can't
Tijuana, Mexico was my last booking. One of the loudest, hypest crowds. March 13th.
Yeah.
And then the last indie show to ever take place was like that 15th, which was in Las Vegas.
Okay.
There was a show in Las Vegas, and they
for
were
who?
like,
Future Stars of Wrestling.
Yeah. And God bless the promoter. He was super cool about it. But I was like, yeah, dude, like I just got back from Tijuana, and I had some like flu-like symptoms because it was just rainy and stuff, and I think I got a cold.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think I got COVID there. I just had a pretty bad cold. But I was like, dude, if during all this going on, all this news popping up, if I get on this plane right now and come to your show, like coughing and sneezing, like what? Like I was not about to put everybody through that. So not only did I lose that payday right off the tail end of it, I just lost, the next 3 months worth of bookings, thousands of dollars. WrestleMania was canceled. That's thousands of dollars for thousands of wrestlers.
That weekend is a huge weekend. That WrestleCon weekend is.
It's like I don't know how I really survived it because I never went and stopped and went and got a shoot job. I just kind of kept plugging my merch online and getting back.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, like I barely skated by.
Because wrestlers can't get unemployment. Are you guys? You're not able to get unemployment.
I think with this situation you can, but it is very hard. Yeah, it's hard to prove your income.
Yeah.
Unless you're tracking every booking and you have to show your income to show how much they should pay you for unemployment. Like when I worked my corporate job, before I even got into wrestling, I got unemployment because they laid me off, and I knew I wanted to go train at Lance Storm's in Calgary. So I was like, well, I'll get unemployment and that'll help me save up to go up to Calgary. Because that was like a big boy job. So they could really look at my income on the taxes and go, okay, this guy's worth this much.
Yeah.
So when we give him unemployment, we'll give him this much.
And with all of this, I would imagine, because I always like talking to people about social media, and there's so many positives to it, and there's obviously some negatives as well. But I think this is one of those instances where, because I see you're very active. I always see you on my timeline of retweeting. You're very active on social media, which is very good.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn and to hustle for business on there, and you're your own brand. And it's like, and I feel like use social media to help yourself. How that was able to keep you, I would imagine that's been very beneficial, allowing you to, with your merchandise and everything. Because without it, there's no way to staying in contact with people.
Yeah, like I don't really have like a website, like a www. Like to me, like My Twitter's a website. My Instagram's a website. Even my Facebook, I do some business on there too. But, when you have access to all these promoters through the messenger apps, through the DMs, you have access to all these different fans that if they want to order a shirt, they can just DM you. You know what I mean? I could screenshot their address and go to the post office the next day, Yeah. So I was able to kind of hustle through and do cameos. And I was also doing some paid podcasts and stuff to make some ends meet too. So it's all about how you flex your brand and how you do different things. Like I know you developed the supplement brands and stuff, and those were huge. And I tried them out. I really like.
I think I saw that with you did Van Vliet's show, right?
Yeah. Chris Van Vliet. He's another example of just somebody making a living off of YouTube. Making a living off of this technology that we have. Yep. And as a wrestler, there's no greater tool. There's no greater tool for getting over. There's no greater tool for getting booked, for getting an opportunity. I think any wrestler that doesn't have at least Twitter and Instagram completely synced up, same gimmick. Same kind of bio, staying in care. You know what I mean? Like, there's none of this. Oh well, I'm tweeting it, so that's really me, not my character. It's like, no, you need to stay in line, stay uniform with who you are. If you say it on there, then you might as well have been your character that said it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you don't deserve the following on there. Your Facebook is your friends and family. Yeah. If you want to be talking like a shoot, then go talk to them, because you don't, that's your 400, 500 friends and family on Facebook. That's why I try to keep Facebook more or less on the personal end. I mean, obviously my friends list is all maxed out, but that kind of caps off at like 5,000. But to me, these people that are like going online and like, oh, well, I was just trying to get heat. And I'm like, well, you're not going to get heat by apologizing and trying to pretend you're a good person in real life. No, like, just blur that line, dude. Just own what you say online. And it's like, you look at MJF.
It's too confusing. You can't do both.
Yeah. Don't do both. Just, if you want to tweet about politics, just realize that some people are going to think that your character thinks that too. So guess what? If you're a fucking babyface in wrestling, maybe don't be a piece of shit online, I mean, I don't know, but because it's going to come back on you, But if you are a heel and you want to express some of your darker thoughts out there, then go ahead. But like, don't try to separate the shit. Like, oh, well, I didn't mean it as a shoot. Like, well, no shit, but you said it, own it. Your character online has 50,000 followers, not your, not who you are as a shoot. So nobody cares about your opinion as a shoot. They care about your character's opinion. Yeah. They care about what that star is thinking. And a lot of these guys, they don't want to carry themselves as stars, and they want to like break that cool, that super, super useful tool that we have, which is social media. Yeah. That lets us blur that line so easily. And they want to like throw that tool out the window. And I'm like, God, you guys are so stupid. But
I agree with it. I hate the apologies and things. I just
well, I'm gonna say with MJF, he's the best heel on the internet because he never apologizes.
That's all that it is. You just
and a lot of people get afraid, like, oh shit, did I really offend him? Well, it's like, yeah, no shit, yeah, you did. That's good. So don't apologize.
It doesn't work if you say I don't mean it. I'm just kidding.
If you stay in character or stay in that mode of whatever you said, own what you say, then nobody can drag you through the mud because they're being fooled or they're being worked, But if you start backpedaling, like, oh, well, now you're caught, now you're fucked,
There's no winning with that. Are you active too on all the, like, would you have Instagram, everything? Are you on all of them? Or no, just Twitter, Facebook mostly?
Yeah, so no, I do a lot on Instagram too.
Okay.
So like the way I do it is like I use Twitter a lot for like thoughts and jokes and just tweets about wrestling and content, like written content. And then with Instagram, I try to let the pictures do the talking more. Sometimes I'll write a pretty long, because there's a lot more length you can do on Instagram. So sometimes I'll put a pretty long caption out there. But less is more. The more you talk or the more you write out, the less value each word has. So sometimes on Instagram, you just want to post a picture and a couple words. And then sometimes on Twitter, you just want to make a funny crack or a funny joke without writing a whole thesis and shit, if you can't explain yourself, that's what I like about Twitter, like the 180 characters or less. It's a great practice on being concise and explaining your thoughts in a shorter manner. without using too many words and too many euphemisms. It's like, all right, just get to the point. You know, if you're gonna clap back at some fan for talking crap, or if you're gonna beef with somebody on there, you know, keep it short, keep it tight. That way, everybody knows it's all in good fun. Like, if you start going and start trying to explain everything, it's like, God damn.
Oh, it's a never-ending circle.
You're killing the magic of it, you know?
Yeah. What about, are you on TikTok as well or no? Because TikTok's where
I don't really do TikTok's a little bit above my my pay grade. I spend so much time on my phone as it is that I would prefer not to have another app to worry about.
Brother, I know my
girlfriend likes it. Yeah, it is a very good creative outlet for sure. And I see some really funny, cool stuff on there, but I just don't like the layout of it. I don't really like scrolling through it and just seeing random girls doing random dances.
It's a lot of dancing.
Yeah, it's more for chicks that want to have fun.
I just do it. I look at it. I get up early and I do all my social media work in the morning, and then I delete them off my phone for parts of the day, but I'll put it back on when I need to use it, and I take it off just because, man, I find myself, I'm like, especially with the supplements, I'm always doing something. But it's so easy just to click on it and look. I take it off my phone so that it's an extra step. But I was curious on that with you, because like this day and age, we're all like, I feel like they're making it more and more addictive to where like they want us on these things at all times. It's like I can't in all the different apps, and it's like just from a business standpoint, I get up and knock it all out. But it's stressful when I don't have it on my phone. I'm so happy. It's like I just live life, and I'm like, fuck. Life is meant to be lived, not meant to be behind that all the time.
Yeah, it can. The social media can consume every minute of your day if you let it. It really can. There's no end to the human thought, to the human argument, to the discourse. There's no end in sight. There's a consistent, like, unlimited, infinite argument about everything. Like, you can always find something to waste your time on social media. But at the same time, just like in wrestling, you can always be busy, and you could always
stay busy. That's the key.
Yeah. Like, you could always be busy.
Yeah.
And you could always be making money and always improving your brand or your craft. So it's like, it's a double-edged sword. You know, you want to use it, but you also want to get away from it, you know. Just
it's a balance.
Take a deep breath and smell the roses for a little bit and realize that a lot of these people online are quite miserable because they're stuck in the matrix too. And if all they did was just unplug for a little bit, they would realize how not serious some of these issues are that are online. You know, like
that's why
you just gotta ask yourself, like, does it affect me, and can I control it or not?
Yeah.
Does it affect me? Can I do anything about it? If I can't control anything about something, I don't stress out about it one bit. And if it doesn't affect me, I usually don't, but I understand some things affect the greater good of people. So I try to be informed on that. But at the end of the day, as selfish as it sounds, if something's taken up half your day and you're spending 4 to 6 hours on Twitter arguing about a topic that doesn't even affect your daily life, doesn't affect your income or your livelihood, like, what are you doing?
Waste of time.
Yeah.
You're not being busy.
You're dying. Every second that you're alive, you're closer to dying.
That's what I feel like is happening on a grand scale with people, quite honestly, because the people that don't stay busy, that concerns me. I feel like is a part of everything going on. But I wanted to ask you,
it's heartbreaking to see it. You know?
Yeah, and because it's going to affect a lot of people. But like, that's why I would say, like, the key focus has always been the one thing that separates success from not having success. And it's even more important now than ever, I feel like. Like, for you, training wise, because wrestling is, I've seen the shift from when I came up, and I'm very accepting to new school. I love old school also, though. I love wrestling. I love psychology. I love human psychology of how I was taught, why you do certain things to elicit a certain response. I love selling. I love because I learned that game. And as I was in wrestling, I saw the game changing a little bit at times. And it was fine because it never affected my matches. And I still look at it that way. Is for someone like you in coming from the business, like, what is your view on that old school, new school? Because everyone has different philosophies on it. Like, when you're watch tape, I know you watch a lot of today's product. Obviously, you have to. Do you watch a lot of old school stuff too?
Yeah. So one thing I've noticed as I'm starting to find out who I am as a wrestler, and also kind of comparing my stock and the way I wrestle to that of the AEW roster, which is a very modernized roster, but they have such a variety that there's a spot for everything on the card, And I do think I fall in line with some of those classic kind of storytelling singles matches. I think I do better with that as far as like I said, I've always been a storyteller. I've always wanted to share my story with the world. How I dealt with not having a father growing up, and how that ultimately led me into wrestling, which is why I don't really have a gimmick and like I'm a wizard or some kind of character gimmick, like I'm going crazy, I'm the loose cannon. Like I just haven't got to that shit because I haven't had a story that has pushed me to that limit. You know what I mean? My story right now is just my shoot kind of story. Like I'm getting into wrestling, I'm doing it, fire a young babyface that just is doing it for the dream, doing it for his father. So if I can really take those real life emotions that I have and put that into my matches, I think that's going to be my most genuine work. But just from being on the indies and understanding how that formula works too, and how like a lot of action can just be, get in there, have some fun and get out. Like I'm totally all for it. I'm not a big tag wrestler, but when I first got into the business, I studied more of the new school stuff just so I could know what I needed to keep up to pace on. But as I mature into the business, I definitely look backwards and see how I can really pull off some of those more magical storytelling moments that people are going to, if I'm completely honest, that people are going to remember way more than that banger match you had, with the way you burned the barn down and everybody got their good shit in. Like, people are just going to remember the more emotional grab as opposed to the,
I like it all. I just think there's a time and place, but the old school for me, and I go back, it's the intensity of watching guys like your father, but like watching guys like
when you can't take your eyes off them when they're just standing there. You know what I mean?
Just
if you have to do something like crazy for me to want to look at you, then it's hard for me to remember you. But if you're just standing there and you're jacked up and you want to fight,
there's an energy to it.
And you're chopping and it's like it's so real out there. But you got to have that.
And that's what I think. To me, that's finding that blend. And if you could do that, you can make a shit ton of money in this business. And I really, because I look at it and it's all learning and it's respecting everything evolves as time goes on. But like the psychology aspect of that, like Vince in Gorilla and WWE, the two things they had always up there, and I learned this from developmental on, was act and react and intensity. And to me, those were always the two most important things in going out there, because if you have intensity, people will believe with what you're doing. So
awesome.
I love it, man. I want to say, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I think I got another one coming up. He's going to send me a similar link to this.
Okay.
So I just jumped right onto that one.
I did want to say it was cool. I got to meet you a few years ago. Probably it was in Pennsylvania. I remember you had a beer in your hand. That was I was screwed up, man. I was physically like, that was me at my worst. But I remember meeting you back there in Pennsylvania, and when I was figuring everything out. So it's really cool to see you figured in.
One of the first indie shows I ever went to.
Really?
Was the Night of the Superstars up in Pennsylvania, and you were on the show with Matt Hardy and Jeff.
Yeah,
and
that was their final show, I think.
Yeah, they had the tag titles with them. But no, that was one of the first indies I went to kind of explore this wacky world. I was like, oh, I want to wrestle. I was all beefed up and in shape, but I wasn't. I didn't know anything yet. I was green as could be. Like I never bumped at all. I was just like, maybe these people can point me in the right direction. Maybe and one thing led to another, and and lo and behold, I just got to see Matt Hardy again after 2.5 years last night. So he was able to watch my match, and he described my work as polished. So that was probably the highest praise I think I've ever gotten. So somebody like him says I look polished out there, and I'm just going to keep polishing.
I love it, man.
But no, thank you for having me. It's nice to talk. I do a lot of these podcasts with random people, but to have a guy like you with the experience and the insider knowledge, I think that's something that people would definitely like to listen to. Just a couple guys talking the business.
I'm adjusting my show the more I'm doing more independent guys like coming up.
Yeah. Without exposing it too much. Yeah, we were able to talk about some different things and give people
it's
a
fun
little
for me as I'm getting
insight.
back in. I look forward. I have a feeling we'll be running into each other at some point, sometimes. So
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this next podcast in full character. Okay, I'm just gonna flip the script on them.
I love it. What's the best place for people to find you on social media?
I'm mostly active on Twitter at Flying Brian Jr.
Okay.
And Instagram at Flying Brian 41. That's Flying with a Y and Brian with an I. And then Facebook, just don't bother me on there because I ain't gonna deal with you.
Good deal, man. Brian, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you for having me.
All right, guys, we'll be right back after these messages. All right, we are back. Big thank you to Brian Pillman Jr. and big things to look out for with him, I assure you. All right, guys, I want to go ahead and do our review of the week this week. I always appreciate you guys and your love and support for this show. Your reviews on iTunes are greatly appreciated. We are on all podcast platforms, and as we continue to grow this show and make adjustments, and you heard me talk about it, I mentioned it there with Brian, I think I'm getting, and I'm not gonna just label the show one certain way, but I feel like there may be having more wrestlers on. And maybe younger wrestlers, independent wrestlers, having them on because it makes for interesting conversations. I really enjoy having those conversations. And just as things that I've always adjusted the show as it goes on to kind of fit where I'm at with my life and where I'm going on, and I'm okay having more wrestling stuff on the show. This review here, it's a 5-star review from this past week from Sammy Owens C. Sammy Owens C. If you're this week's winner, but the reviews, the episode on last week of June 2020. Please check audio. It sounds like someone left Mike hot while using the restroom about 5 minutes to 8 minutes mark, and it stay hot. Please check. I support the podcast and listen. Also a fan, so I'm just saying to make it better for all. I gave it 5 stars, so you know I'm fan. But please check audio. Thank you. And I thank you. In that, he's referring to our Shooting Blanks Wrestling Report. Me and Raj, we went back to Skype this week, and and there is a feature just to download the audio off of, we were using StreamYard. And I don't know what it is, but StreamYard, and I have a feeling, because I record on multiple different things, I like having backups as well, because I've done an episode or two in the past where I had only one way of recording, and something happened, and I remember one time camera went out once, and it's always good to just have backups on things. But for whatever reason with StreamYard, the audio recording on my podcast Zoom player and the hard cam get muffled, where that background noise, it just picks up something, and it's trust me, I wish, and I sent it off to the editing team, and that was on me. I could have just downloaded the audio, and I didn't even see that on there. Raj mentioned it to me, and I go, shit, I just never looked at it. I just always hit download video, and where I can do the audio if we do use StreamYard for me and Raj. But this week I just use Skype, so there's no issues. And the last thing, I know how important sound is. It's sometimes you record a show. I'm doing a million things throughout the day, and I'll be the first to tell you sometimes I'm just getting stuff done, and I just got to get it done. But at the same time, I want everything to be good that you put out. Not always the case, obviously. And so my apologies for the shit audio for the Wrestling Report for last week. But thank you for the review. You're this week's winner. And please send me a screenshot with an email to thebigguy@feedmemore.com. And get a copy of my book, Wake Up, It's Feeding Time, over here. Available on Amazon, paperback, Audible, and all different Kindle formats. And or a small through 2XL Feed Me More Nutrition Premium tank top. Thank you guys, as always, for that. Moving on, we're going to hit a little bit up of the paying the bills. You guys can check out, we do have Feed Me More Nutrition mask also with everything going on as mask, the mask, the cloth mask at Teespring. If you go to teespring.com, and it's the Feed Me More store on Teespring. And we have different shirts, Feed Me More Nutrition merchandise up over there, coffee mug. And we have masks as well, the Feed Me More Nutrition mask with everything. I got a couple coming over here and looking into getting a bunch made for the website as well to give away with orders on that. But I'm waiting to hear back on that as we speak. Real Good Foods, you can save 15% with discount code Ryback, realgoodfoods.com. They got the keto pizzas. They have the cauliflower pizzas, the enchiladas, the keto enchiladas, the beef chicken, the jalapeno bacon, or the jalapeno poppers, the other, I'm all over the botch. Real Good Foods, botch. The jalapeno poppers. They have a bacon, I think cheddar poppers. The bacon-wrapped stuffed chicken breasts, those were absolutely delicious. You can see a video of that on Feed Me More TV with all that, guys. And but check them out, realgoodfoods.com. They have a lot of good stuff. They're a really cool business. Always happy to have them a part of this show. And you can save 15% with discount code Ryback. Fuel Meals, my personal meal prep company I am associated with. Fuelmeals.com. You can save 15% with discount code The Big Guy. Go on there, guys. It essentially helps eating healthy. It makes it a lot easier. A meal prep at your doorstep. Steak, chicken, broccoli. They got different asparagus, green beans, rice, brown rice, white rice. They have different tilapia, salmon, quesadillas, Texan turkey burgers. You can do signature meals, you can do custom meals. It's really, they have something for everybody over there. It helps eating healthier though, and whether you bring a meal or two with you to work or on the road, it helps counting your macros a lot easier on that. And I've been with them now for probably 5 years now. So crazy how time flies by. Feed Me More Nutrition, available on feedmemore.com and Amazon. You can save 10% with discount code podcast10 from this show, guys. The Shell Shock Extreme Fat Burner is going to be back in stock this week. As you know, $1 of all sales goes towards feeding those in need here in Las Vegas. So every time you place an order on feedmemore.com, we give $1 to 3 Square here in Las Vegas. I make the donation at the beginning of the month every month. We have that information available on the feedmemore.com website as well, and you can see, and it's really cool to be able to give back. And as we continue to grow and get bigger, and continue to give them more and more and help out, just as much as we can with everything. And I just like being able to have a business and try to do good things with it, as we are trying to do good things with providing supplements with no artificial sweeteners or colors. There's really very few companies doing what we're doing here, and at the level that we're doing. And I feel like the quality of supplements we're giving you for the value and money, and not overcharging for the supplements. And it would have been really easy. And I was advised to go and charge a lot more on a lot of the stuff. It always bothered me. I don't understand why we charge more for being healthy. I think it's fucking stupid. So that's my mentality. Maybe it's not the best business mentality, but if I'm making money still and people aren't going broke getting healthy supplements or healthy food, whatever it is, you know? And again, costs do come in. Our costs are higher and things of that nature, but it always bothered me. It was like, why am I being charged more for doing the right thing? Shouldn't we, like, If anything, shouldn't it be the other way? Shouldn't it, like, fast food be really, really expensive? That way but what the fuck do I know? Coming along here in 2020 talking that nonsense. But thank you guys. Thank you very much for shopping with Feed Me More Nutrition on feedmemore.com. The thought of the week this week, guys, is a quote here that I've lost. I had it open on my phone and it has disappeared because my picture's reset. So I'm going to scroll up. Just give me a hot minute here. All right. Actually, I'm going to change it because I like this one better. I didn't see this before. Thought of the week this week is from a quote I saw, that anxiety doesn't come from thinking about the future. It comes from trying to control it. Anxiety doesn't come from thinking about the future. It comes from trying to control it. And that one really hit home, and I really believe that. And I think that a lot of the times we create situations in our head, or we tell ourselves stories of the way we think things are going to go, or maybe in a negative way that can create stress and create anxiety and cause uncertainty in us. Whereas if we maybe just choose a different approach, and maybe a more positive approach, and not dwell too much on the negatives and trying to be so hell-bent on something going a certain way, and just more living in the now and choosing to be happy. We always have a choice on it, and I've talked about that. And I think though sometimes it's what we do though. We overthink things all the time, and no good ever comes from it. Humans are at their best just when we act and react, and just be in the moment, and whatever happens, happens. But we want to control things, and I'm guilty of it myself, and I want so hell-bent on things going a certain way sometimes that we just cause ourselves just unwanted, unnecessary stress. And we're not always going to escape that, but I think just being aware of it and catching it at certain times can really, really work to our advantage. That's my thought of the week. Shut the fuck up, big guy. All right, guys, for all videos, cameo.com/the big guy Ryback for personal video shout outs. Just want me to say hello, birthday wishes, whatever you want. I am on Cameo as well on that. For all fan mail, I ask you to limit it to 1 to 2 pieces and have a self-addressed envelope as well. P.O. Box 752-740, Las Vegas, Nevada 89136. With that, all media inquiries, please, the big guy at feedmemore.com. I think I got a couple things. People have reached out, doing a couple shows more on business and personal development, which is always cool to get asked to do shows for that and not wrestling related. Never a bad thing at all, even though the wrestling ones are all fantastic as well. With that, and guys, I'm on social media, the big guy Ryback 22 on Instagram, Feed Me More Nutrition, Conversation with the Big Guy Ryback TV on Instagram, Ryback at Twitter, Feed Me More Nutrition on Facebook, Ryback 247 on Snapchat, the Big Guy Ryback 22 on TikTok, guys. And thank you very much for listening. I hope you guys all had a wonderful 4th of July. Let's wear our mask, do our best. And if you don't want to wear them when you're at home, I'm all for not wearing them at home and things, but let's try to keep everything open. And because I see the governor here has been making comments, and we don't need anything getting shut down again. Let's just wear the mask when we're in public, and then we can bitch about it all when we're in our car and at home and doing our activities where we're not around other people. And let's just keep everything open, because I assure you, we do not want that happening again with whatever the fuck is going on. All right, thank you guys for listening. You've just listened to another episode of Conversation with the Big Guy Ryback. Feed me more. Yo, thank you guys for watching Ryback TV. If you could check out my Shooting Blanks Wrestling Report every Monday on all podcast platforms, Conversation with the Big Guy Ryback every Thursday morning on all podcast platforms, and Feed Me More Nutrition, my personal supplement line, available on feedmemore.com and Amazon. Save 10% with discount code YouTube10 and save stupid. Why couldn't you? Almost had it. I almost had the whole video done in one take. New customers, you can save 20% with discount code NEWCUSTOMER on feedmemore.com.
Get hungry, stay hungry, feed me more.